Greetings, my friends. I want to thank you all for subscribing. I want to thank all of my channel members for supporting me in this endeavor to save pop culture. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. My friends, Rachel Zegler has a big mouth. And when a big mouth is joined with a woke attitude and the idiotic, naive entitlement of a 22-year-old, it usually spells trouble. But when you cast such a person as your lead in an already controversial remake of a classic movie, it's a recipe for disaster. Disney and disaster go hand in three-fingered glove these days, when Disney literally can seem to do no right. And yet, even with all of Kathleen Kennedy's expensive failures, even with Disney using a male in drag to sell kids' clothes, even with the stock dipping dangerously close to a new record low, Snowflake and the 7 SJWs is shaping up to be the biggest failure yet for this plague rat named Mickey. This thing is a hurtling train wreck of epic proportions, and yet the Disney board refuses to let Bob Iger cancel this looming disaster, this sword of dumbass-cleese hanging over Mickey's head. But the backlash to Rachel Zegler's open contempt for the original Snow White and for its fans has only increased over the past few weeks, and I now have a report from my Hollywood spies that Disney has taken action against Rachel Zegler. A meeting took place, folks, and I will share what happened at this meeting with you later in this video. But before I do, it's important to understand just why Disney is so upset, what Zegler had to say, and why this backlash against Snow Woke is not going away.
I must say I would be shocked to the core by Zegler's insulting and idiotic comments if I could just find my core. I think this time the woke wankers of BlackRock and Vanguard have gone too far, and even the normies are going to be doing their best impressions of Brundlefly as they watch this in theaters next year.
Skull of Calderon, this movie is so god-awful, it's beyond parody. Even the famed Babylon Bee, even National Lampoon in their heyday, couldn't really make this thing worse than it is. Look at it objectively for just a minute and let the madness sink in. This movie is about a woman named Snow White, but she's Latina and about as pale as a box of wheat thins, so calling it Snow White is a lie. In the original movie, the evil queen hates Snow White because Snow White is fairer and more beautiful than she is, and then Disney casts one of the most beautiful women in the world to play the evil queen, which just adds to the stupidity of this remake. See, Gal Gadot is the queen here, and I'm sorry, but objectively speaking, Gal Gadot standing next to Rachel Zegler is like Denzel Washington standing next to Urkel. Denzel is not going to bother sending Urkel into the forest with a huntsman assassin, folks. Urkel doesn't make Denzel lose any sleep. Shit, Urkel doesn't even make Will Smith lose sleep. So saying that Rachel Urkel is going to threaten Gal Gadot to the point where she attempts to kill her stepdaughter? Please, people. I can believe in witches and poisoned apples, but I can't believe in that. And the magic mirror in this ludicrous garbage project, when queried who's the fairest one of all, is going to say, "Are you kidding with that Rachel Zegler shit? You're the fairest in the land, Gal Gadot." And boom, just like that, the movie will be over, with a runtime of 3 minutes, with credits. Snow White was a romantic fairy tale about the power of true love, but as Rachel Zegler puts it, the prince is a weird stalker, and Rachel Snow White don't need no man. She's a leader. She's like Che Guevara in drag, wearing a cheap dress from the Spirit Halloween store. And the dwarves. What of the dwarves? Oh, they're gone, because dwarves aren't politically correct anymore. So now instead of dwarves, we have 7 they-them welfare recipients. Magical creatures, they're saying now, of mixed genders, ethnicities, and heights. It's absolutely the crowning achievement of wokeness. It literally couldn't be more insultingly moronic and less faithful to the source material. It's really, really bad when it turns out the inevitable porn parody of this movie by Axel Braun is going to be more faithful to Disney's original classic than Disney's own remake. Porn isn't afraid of dwarves, my friends. And in the porn remake, Snow White doesn't have to wait long at all for her prince to come. Probably in slow motion, but I digress. My friends, my Hollywood spies just sent me an update about Rachel Zegler being in hot water at Disney as the controversy swirling around her asinine comments continues to worsen. Apparently, it's gotten so bad, the son of the original director of the classic Snow White has spoken out about this disgusting and disrespectful vandalism of the original animated film. And the man just dropped a whole bunch of truth bombs right in Iger's C-suite. There are a series of articles about his comments, and they deserve to be heard, folks. In an article titled, Snow White Director's Son Criticizes Insulting Disney Remake Starring Rachel Zegler, The Hollywood Reporter writes, quote, Disney's live-action remake of 1937's Snow White and the Seven Dwarves doesn't come out till next year, but a culture war surrounding the film, titled Snow White, is already at full boil. First, conservative critics took issue with casting Latina star Rachel Zegler as a character described in the original Brothers Grimm story as having skin as white as snow, and the production changing the formerly titular Seven Dwarves into a diverse collection of magical creatures of varying sizes and genders. Then 22-year-old Zegler caused a stir when a flurry of comments from late last year recently resurfaced that suggested she didn't like the original film and that the new movie would take a very different approach to the iconic character.
Alas, poor Rachel. She thought it was her big break playing Snow Woke, but turns out this movie was a roach motel for her career. She can check in, but she can't check out. And while it's not her fault, the writer has perverted literally everything about this story into a parody of wokeness. She only made it worse by spewing woke BS, crapping all over the idea of true love, and saying her vandalized version was going to be so much betterer than the original classic.
She made it so much worse, folks. And sadly for her, Disney has been listening, and the mouse is not pleased. Rachel Zegler said, she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. She previously told Vanity Fair, people are making these jokes about ours being the PC Snow White, where it's like, yeah, it is, because it needed that. She told EW, the original is extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And told Extra TV, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
And yet the son of the original director of Snow White is still alive, and like most of us in the real world, he thinks the original is just Jim Dandy. And this fucked up bullshit is the problem.
Correct. In an interview with The Telegram, David Hand, son of the original Snow White director, has this to say of the remake, quote, it's a whole different concept, and I just totally disagree with it. And I know my dad and Walt would also very much disagree with it, Hand said. I disagree with this whole new concept, and he called it a disgrace that Disney is trying to do something new with something that was such a great success earlier. Their thoughts are just so radical now. They changed the stories, they changed the thought process of the characters, they're making up new woke things, and I'm not just into any of that. I find it, quite frankly, a bit insulting what they may have done with some of these classic films. There's no respect for what Disney did and what my dad did. I think Walt and he would be turning in their graves, unquote. This is the consensus of the vast majority of the American public, my friends, and that's why Disney is allegedly so upset with Rachel Zegler. At this point, what I'm about to share with you is information provided to me by my Hollywood spies, but since I cannot personally confirm this information, I'm presenting it as unverified rumor, and I ask you to please take it with a grain of salt. Yesterday, my Hollywood spies sent me this update. Quote, This comes from a very reliable source, and we believe this source. According to this source, the lead actress for Snow Tan has been called into the office. Allegedly, this actress was told to dial down her words. She was given talking points and told she was on their radar, unquote.
Oh, my stars and garters! Little Miss Wonder Woke has been mansplained to by Iger, told to curb her woke enthusiasm, handed a script with talking points to try and help save this disaster and control her speech?
That is what my spies have been told. And when they're this certain, I believe them. She was not only silenced, she was given a script with talking points. And as soon as she speaks out again, we will learn exactly what those talking points are. We'll get to see what passes for damage control from Disney in the age of woke, and this alone will be vastly entertaining. Yeah, I guess when you fuck things up this publicly and spectacularly, even the House of Mouse that hired a dude in drag to peddle Minnie Mouse dresses to kids has to do damage control. Folks, I can't wait to see this disgusting garbage. It is going to be mind-blowingly awful. And I'm going to ride this and ride this and ride this all the way to the woke graveyard and laugh as I see this atrocity lowered slowly into the ground of box office failure. I have a lot more to say about this, my friends, including some behind-the-scenes leaks of footage people have seen from the movie. And let me tell you, you think this shit is bad? To quote Al Jolson and Bachman Turner Overdrive, you ain't seen nothing yet. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.